Welcome to FiST Chat, your source for news and discussions in film, science and technology, hosted by Steve Kern and Ben Warner. Visit our website at fistchat.com. Hi there everyone, and welcome to FiST Chat, your vodcast for film, science and technology topics. We're always here and willing to get stuck into it. I'm joined again by my good friend and colleague Steve Kern. How are we this week, Steve? We're back for our fourth season too, which is exciting.
Fourth season, episode 151, is it, Ben?
Yeah,
fantastic.
I know. I mean, we did
FiST Chat fans,
and we didn't mark the episode 150, but as our final episode of the year last year. But that's all right. We'll mark it now. So it's another small little milestone on our way forward.
That's right.
Now we'll get straight into it. I just wanted to mention the second edition of the FiST report should be out in the next week or two. We're just sort of the two of us are busily sort of knocking that together and getting it ready for its release. So we're kind of excited about that. It'll be our second ebook, but make sure to check it out. Our first edition, I should say, is at fistreport.com. So that's always there, and it will continue to be there, of course, to be joined shortly by its second part. So it's always good. And before we get into our main topic, just wanted to mention a couple of contributions from our listeners. We had quite a few over the break. Two from Dina on YouTube. They sent us an Android lock screen app via a YouTube video clip, and Jamison on YouTube sent us another YouTube clip showing free face recognition for Windows login. The thing I found with those two, Steve, was they both highlight the advantages of those systems in the sense that with iOS and iPhones and iPads, you just can't customize it like that, and with Android you can obviously customize it however you like, and that lock screen was actually kind of cool, just for something completely different if you wanted to have something a bit more, I don't know, personal or something like that.
Yeah, that is the big thing. I mean, really, it's a task even to put your own ringtone on an iPhone. So, yeah. I mean, that is the big advantage of Android.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Liam, one of our regular listeners too, sent us a couple of interesting things on Google Plus. That largest known star, a visual slideshow, VV Sapphire, is that how you pronounce it? Or Sapphire?
Close enough, Ben.
A sun that's 1,900 times our own sun's diameter, and it had the caption, "Does this make you feel small?" It certainly did, didn't it? Looking at it like that. And just another space one from Sky News. NASA captured a rather interesting image of a hand-shaped formation around a star and dubbed it the Hand of God. It was just basically a cloud of gas, but it was just an interesting formation from our perspective that it looked like a hand.
Very much so, isn't it? It's amazing what we can see when we stare into the stars.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's get into our big topic for this episode: big data, whichever takes your fancy in terms of pronunciation. Watched a doco. It was on SBS here, but it was from the BBC originally. The Age of Big Data, and it's probably a good topic to start our year off on, I think, because it's going to just become even more prevalent this year. And just to start with, they mention at the beginning of this doco that every day now we generate more data than what our entire civilization has done from the dawn of our civilization to the year 2000. Wow. And if you put that into perspective, that's just mind-boggling. And they then proceed to make the point that with that much data being generated and with big tech companies collating it, not to mention spy agencies and whoever else is looking in on us.
Ben.
It's they could be the NSA could be recording us right now. The interesting thing is that with all that data flying around, that it's conceivable that you could run an algorithm that could look for patterns in that data and also sort of extrapolate information on behaviour. Now, the first example that they had was an experiment that the LA police force was using a predetermined algorithm to predict future crimes based on looking at all of their previous data on crime stats. And, that and it seemed like it was being accurate. When they ran the algorithm for past historical data, it got it right every time. Then it's in terms of the future, who knows how that was going to work. But that's amazing, really. And even though they showed the cops in the car saying, "Oh, I'm not really happy with the computer telling me where my next job's going to be." That's almost like trying to rein in chaos theory, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it is and it isn't. Now, I mean, I would go so far to say this, that you could predict this sort of stuff without a computer. Just nobody's bothered, or somebody's come up with an algorithm. I mean, I would suggest that, and it has been shown, that humans are actually highly predictable. Yeah. There are lots of studies. We do know now how humans are going to react in a whole variety of situations. I'm sure there are places you can go downtown where you could sit somewhere and you would know a crime would be committed in that spot sometime in the next 6 hours. Do you need a computer? No. We don't know how accurate this computer is in terms of assisting the police with their resourcing. That might be a big thing. But I don't think any computing we have today is really going to be like person of interest style computing, or this idea that the NSA can work out everything that's going on and we get a minority report or something like that. But quantum computing, which is immensely more powerful than our standard binary code, could potentially run an algorithm that could predict these things. So I don't know, but it's very interesting.
Well, you raise an interesting point there. That's almost like future technology. And the thing is, it could be applied retrospectively, because at the moment we're generating all the data. The fact that we don't have necessarily the technology now to fully take advantage of it, but it may in the future. So in 2050, they could look back at all this data that we've been generating now and then develop patterns based on what they're seeing there. But it could be anything. You had that link you sent me through on concerns in the US that social media can decide your credit status. That banks will look in on your say your Facebook or Google Plus account to see if you'd been, say, fired from a job, and then they determine whether you're good for the money, kind of thing. I mean, that's a variation on it as well.
Well, exactly. I mean, all of these things are quite possible now. I mean, big data, even though it hasn't existed perhaps quite in the same way since last century, but businesses would predict what they would need, how many units of something they would sell at a certain period of time of the year, and that's been around for a long time. So, like you say, this is an extension of that, where we can start to measure and interpret new things. So why wouldn't you? You just run an algorithm to find out, how many times somebody's changed jobs in the last, 6 years. Be very easy to do. Especially if you have a CV up online, or if you've got a program like LinkedIn or a network like LinkedIn. All I have to do is search you, and I should be able to see.
Well, I'm just wondering if the old 1984 scenario of Big Brother tracking you and whatnot, and they had kind of a specific dystopian vision of that. But it seems like as this thing is developing, we're all fairly happy with all of this going along, because perhaps that sort of 1984 scenario didn't imagine, say, the advantages of generating all this data for society as well. I mean, we're pointing out, people could run algorithms and determine perhaps future behaviour based on the past behaviour. But at the same time, there are certain advantages to having all this data running around as well.
It makes our modern lives possible. Let's not, just focus on the downsides here. But I think you make a very interesting point by the 1984 comparison, which is what everyone with the NSA stuff is freaking out about. Oh, Big Brother, Big Brother. Yeah. In actual fact, big data is a whole range of different corporations that control this data. Yeah. So, I would say in comparison, the private big data companies, your online entities, but even your retail entities probably, and certainly your finance entities, probably know a lot more about you than the government does. And if you're really concerned about big data, I don't think there's any getting away from it. You know, perhaps you could start living and trading in Bitcoin. Who knows? But it's very interesting. The plus side of all this big data is that we are able to live in societies the way we are now. I guess the downside is that you just continue to get ads every time you turn on your electronic device for things that you're not interested in.
Well, that's the thing. On the downside, we could be tracked based on everything we do, but on the plus side, you know, we've got a device in our pocket that can give us instant information on anything that we could want, which allows us to do things faster than we ever could before. So that's where the trade-off lies. I
guess the thing is that, you know, no one's been burnt yet. We've had a few, you know, security breaches, credit card numbers and that going, but that aside, no one's really been burnt. I suspect if people really get burnt by not getting jobs or, you know, getting hauled into court because of something they said on social media, then we might see a change in public attitude.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe go back to the days where people don't actually use their real name in social media.
No, that's going to open up a whole new can of worms right there.
Well, what are they going to do? Legislate you have to?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, just imagine that.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we might move on. If you get a chance, check out that doco. It's quite interesting, The Age of Big Data from the BBC. That might still be running off of their site. I'm not sure if it's still there. You know, these things tend to disappear after a week, but hopefully it's still there. It's definitely worth checking out. All right, we might move on to our news bites now, and our film one was somewhat amusing. David Stratton's an institution here in Australia. He's perhaps one of the top film critic, along with Margaret Pomerantz, and the show that they run on the ABC called At the Movies. The Sydney Morning Herald had a story about a young David Stratton that was visiting the Soviet embassy in Canberra in 1969, and apparently ASIO, which is our CIA for the lack of a better word, basically opened a file on him because they thought he was a communist for bringing in Russian films into the festival. But as he pointed out, you know, we were screening films from everywhere, so I didn't see any reason to discriminate. And he suggested that ASIO's interest in him was a staggering waste of time and money. So this was quite amusing. The thing that I like too is that they posted a picture of the 29-year-old David Stratton, and it was kind of totally different, of course, because, you know, I think we've become used to seeing him with the white beard and that look that he's got now.
Yeah. He's certainly a different looking guy. But, you know, once again, this gets back to our modern NSA thing. You know, and it's very interesting. Waste of time. Yes, it was. Okay, the flags went up, Russian embassy, you know, film, you know, some guy that looked a little bit freaky. You know, that's all we need. That's all we need for a file on him. And that's, you know, I think that, I can't remember who it was from the NSA or one of the guys who helped set up the computing systems for the NSA came out and said they were actually drowning in data because they were just getting too much and they couldn't make head or tail of it. So, you know, it's just, this is a new application for an old problem.
Yeah, exactly. All right, and now we'll move on to our science news bite from Discovery News. Go to Jupiter for the best French fries. I like this one. You know, like scientists have answered one of the biggest questions hanging over the future of space exploration. Where in the solar system can you find the best French fries? And the answer, as it turns out, is Jupiter. Ran a couple of experiments and basically found out that as the relative gravity of the fryer was increased, they discovered that varying the gravity experienced by the fryer during frying affects the heat transfer through the potato. And apparently because the Jupiter has a surface gravity of nearly 3 times Earth's, therefore it's got the ideal gravitational conditions for cooking French fries. An interesting use of science there. You know, we got to make sure that we can get French fries when we're out there traveling through space like Star Trek.
Yeah, I must say I didn't quite understand that because while Jupiter's got 3 times the gravity on the surface, it's got immense pressure.
Yeah,
like with the atmosphere. So I don't know.
Well, weren't they saying something along the lines?
Fries might be crushed to diamonds. on Jupiter, but I'm not absolutely sure about that.
Well, weren't they saying that it wasn't cooking it properly in the middle or something like that, and it was still a bit soggy, even though the outside was crispy?
Well, I mean, this sort of really raises the question: why would you go on a one-way trip to Mars when you could go to Jupiter and get a burger and fries?
Yeah, exactly.
Or as one of my friends said, better still, just go to the restaurant at the end of the universe.
Exactly. All right, and finally our tech news bite from CNBC. Unemployed in Europe hobbled by lack of technology skills. And this is probably a recurring problem, especially since the GFC, with hundreds of thousands of people losing work. There are jobs being generated in for example, in high-end positions, like if you want to go to work for Microsoft or Apple or whatever, there's a lot of jobs being, because that's a very big growth industry at the moment. But the thing is, that's highly specialized, and you need qualified skills to go into those sorts of roles. And unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of people, sort of copying the downside of that increase in sort of technology growth, in that unskilled people can't sort of get the benefit of that, which is quite unfortunate, especially in European countries as it stands at the moment.
Well, the thing is that that's just the way the world is moving. We just spoken about big data. It's inconceivable that in another 15 years, our lives won't start to resemble science fiction in one way or another. I mean, we've got all the tools here today. We've got all the data capacity today. I think that, really everyone's going to need a basic level of understanding of the technology. And of course, Google are already running programs now because they're concerned that people just don't even understand how the devices they've got work. Yeah. So, I mean, if we all grow up with technology and we don't actually even understand basically how they work, where are we going to find the next generation of programmers or the next generation of people to design the new products? So it is a big growth industry, and surely, to work in anywhere in those fields is the next big industry. It's the automotive industry of the 21st century.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess it's sort of a transition in society too, from that sort of manual labor, well, I guess generally speaking, type of work to this type of more specialized type of industry where, there has to be a transition made at somewhere, but unfortunately there's going to be some people that cop the sort of the short end of the stick with that.
Everyone's got to be prepared. In another 15 to 20 years, robots will be digging all the holes, mowing all the lawns, and doing all the stuff that humans have done manual labor-wise. Yeah,
exactly. All right, we're getting towards the end of our show here, but we have to briefly mention CES because that was on this past week or so, and it just reminded me that it isn't really that interesting a sort of tech conference anymore, because a lot of the stuff that they show you don't see ever again. I mean, the only thing to note was that they're pushing 4K this year, which wasn't really surprising, and it's not really that exciting because we knew it was coming.
And also the thing is they've given up on 4K at the same time, which is what they're not saying, because they can't make it marketable to sell.
Yeah. Well, there has to be content to show on it. Otherwise, what's the point of having a 4K TV set?
That's right.
And, of course, we have to mention, too, the Michael Bay meltdown moment, which seemed to generate all the more publicity for Samsung's, curved TV for all the wrong reasons.
Do you need a curved TV, Ben?
I don't need a curved TV, but Michael Bay was trying to sell us on that. But I felt sorry for the guy. I mean, I'm no fan of his films, but oh boy, did he cop the rough end going on that stage. You can tell he's a director, not a performer.
Yeah, I mean, I felt bad for him as well because, that's a dreadful thing to happen. But it just goes to show that I don't think his heart was really in it. Yeah, I bet if he'd been speaking about one of his films, he would have been fine without a teleprompter.
Yeah.
He just couldn't hold it together because he was talking about a curved television. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, sorry, I can't do this anymore. All right, we might wrap it up there. So thanks again, Steve, for the chat.
Anytime. Hi, FiST Chat fans. Keep chatting to us.
Absolutely. Don't forget our website, FiSTChat.com. Get all of our links there. We've got plenty there to look at, so feel free to jump in. Quite a few channels as well. Just mention again the FiST Report at FiSTReport.com. So we've got our first edition there that's been there for a year or so now. We've got our second edition coming through very soon. We've got weekly blogs, photography on Instagram and Flickr that you can check out too. And you can recommend us to anyone who may be interested in our weekly discussions on film, science and technology. We'd appreciate that very much. All right, so that's it for this week's episode. So we'll catch you next time.